Hello guys, welcome to another video. In my previous videos, we have learned about loader. So loader is a function which get data for initial UI. Now, what if you want to submit data from your UI? Let's take an example. You do have a form and you want to submit the form data to some API. Well, initially I can think of traditional React way where I can have some API calls wrapped inside a function and maybe click on this form submit. I can call that API and pass all the data. But there are some disadvantages. Remix provides a better way, which is called action. Action is also a function which is like loader. So loader is a get API in your route, but action is basically other APIs rather than get. Both executes on node environment. So you can perform any server operation you want to perform inside this loader or action. Both are asynchronous supported. So now let's take some example. So this is my code base and it has only one route, that is index route. And in the index route, I'm rendering a form. So I've applied some pre-styles here through Tailwind classes. So we do have three fields: name, email, and address, and also a submit button. Now if I see the UI look like this. Now I want to submit the data from this form. So what I can do is let's try to fill this form first. Maybe let's do this is C at the gmail.com and something like this. If I submit it right now, you see it is sending all the data to the current page in the query forms. That is the default behavior of form, right? Because we are not specifying here. By default, it is sending to a get method. Get method attach everything in the URL parameters. But if I do it post, if I reload this, remove all these query params here and fill the information again, you see here the gmail.com and some random address, submit. Now see, it is sending a request to post. Even if we see the network tab, I guess I need to do it again. No name, apcm.com and some random address. If I do it, submit, see, it is giving us error. 505 method not allowed. We are sending up data through post method in this route, index route, but we don't have any handler. We need a handler to handle this request. Remix provider a function which is called action to handle. Export cons action, which is very similar to loader in syntax. It is going to be a function. Right now, I'm just going to return the, and it's going to have some parameters, and they have a type as well, which is action function arts, which is coming from Remix now. And even literally, I try to extract that. We do have three things here, just like your load. But I'm going to focus on big test for now. What I'm going to do is cons data is equal to request. Now we are sending data from this form, and by default, the data is going to be form data. So there is a function present in request to extract all the form data from the form request, something like this. And I'm going to just print it for now, and let's try to run it, whether it's going to handle it or not. If I do this, if I again fill all the details, okay, remove this, again it is not allowed. See, by default, this form not mapped with this action. What we have to do is, there are two ways we can map this form to this action. So let's start with the first one using a hook which is called useFetcher. useFetcher is a hook which helps you to access the action. And it's going to give you a few things. First thing it's going to give you is the form element, fetcher.form. Now we are not using HTML form, we are using fetcher.form. Fetcher.form like this. Now, if I try to do it again, and it's going to be abc.email.com, some random like this. I'll do this. Now we don't have the error. Now, actually, my action is handling this data. If you see, the request is successfully completed to a route localhost, and this is root. Root basically the index by you had. The data signifies you are trying to access action, and question mark index is a query which specify you are trying to access the index file. And if I see the preview, it has lot of random data, so we don't need to worry about this. But if you see the payload, we have sent three things here: no namer, this, and this. So this preview, why it is different? Right now we are returning null, but it is giving you this random data just because we have enabled a feature. By default, it is enabled, which is called single fetch in Remix. We are going to discuss about single fetch when we are going to learn about how actions work when you have multi-level nesting. But for now, for this video, we are not going to discuss about this. We are going to focus on the payload. We are sending three data here. The data which we have entered are basically available here in the form data. Now, if I go and check my console, it is giving you this promise pending. Why? Because this request of form data is a promise. You need to obey. And if you want to obey it, you need to make a function async. Action loader support async awaits. They wait for the operation, which is totally fine. Now I need to fill the form again. Non-namer, abc@gmail.com, some random address. Do this. If I go back, we have all three fields here in the form data. Now, if you want to access a single field there, what you can do is, you can do something like this: get maybe name. That's how you're going to access a name field here with the value no namer. Or what you can do is, I think the right way would be to extract all the values from form data into an object. Could be like details, and we can do object dot from entries, and we can specify data dot entries. Now, if I try to access specific thing here, maybe like details dot name. If I save it, go back to my UI and try to fill some details here. gmail.com, some random address, submit. Now we are actually getting a name value. Now it is an actual object. It is not a form data. Form data is not an object. You cannot perform all the operations you can perform on the object. So it is better if you are converting it to an object. Now, what you can do here? You can pass this data to DB. You can have ORMs ready. You can simply pass this data to ORM, and ORM going to submit the data to DB. You can perform any server-side operation because this part is Node.js. You can perform anything you want to do in the Node.js. Very simple. Now, the API is going to respond to you, or the ORM operation is going to return you something. Now, what if you want to return some information from the action as well? Maybe a success message, like simply the operation is successful. What you can do is, you can return an object here. I am just having a property success, which is going to be true. If I save this, if I go back here, again fill the details. Again, the request is says no page reload. If I go back, there is no print here because they are not printing, but we are returning something. Now the question is how to get this data, how to access this data in the UI component. Well, You got it covered by this useFetcher hook. Now, if you just simply print this fetcher, let's ignore it for now. The spill details again, no name, email is going to be again this one and some random address. Submit. Now you have 4 prints here for the useFetcher. It triggers a 4 time due to the changes. 2 time it is submitting and the idle. So idle is a state where your form is idle. The fetcher is not submitting data to the action. Why this state is important? It is something like if you want to show a loader, when it is submitting, you want to disable buttons in your UI. You don't want to you don't want user to click again on the submit button until the state is submitting, right? That is why this state is very useful. But apart from state, you have a field something called data, which is giving you an object such as true. If you remember, that is what we are returning from the action, right? If you perform any operation in the action, you can return the data as well. And that data is going to be present in the fetcher as well. And you can use the fetcher as per your requirement. Maybe like if I want to disable the button, how I want to disable? I want to disable fetcher.state not is equal to idle. So there are 3 states here. If it is not idle, I just want to disable now. But if I go this, and I don't know whether I do have a style for disable or not, but let's give it a try. No name of email.com. But I don't think I do have a style for disable for sure. Let's try it again. Okay. I think it should work. Hmm. Okay. I don't know why it is not adding attribute disable here. Fetcher.state not is equal to either. Let's see if we get this result here. It is false. Never. Well, it was true. If it is true, then it should be give us the disabled button. Maybe the operation is too fast. That's why it is not having this disabled option here. I think it should be one. This task is for you. Find a solution why it is not working and leave a comment. So very similar form, we do have another component from the remix, which is called form. Well, we can use form as well. But now we need to specify which action I want to call. You need to specify the route address. So it is going to be slash because I want to call a root action. Now if I go back, try to submit the data again. A@gmail.com. Well, it didn't work. I guess I need to. Why it is not working? Because when you want to access root route or index route inside your layout folder or layouts, whenever you have a route, root route or root index, then you need to specify this index. I think now it's going to work. Let's see. And we have some errors. It's okay. Let's keep it open. Remove this. No name. Gmail.com. This. Oh yeah, it's working. But right now you see, it is working, and let's print the result as well so that we get to know whether it's actually working or not. We are printing details in the action. No name. This. If I submit again, we are having all the data in the action. Why we have the output here rather than browser? Because this action runs on server side. That's why we are having all the logs inside the terminal, not in the browser. Cool. Let's keep it here. But you see, if I just try to print fetcher.data and again print, it is always undefined. Why? Because now you cannot access the value returning from the action using this form component. And if you want to create a state where you want to specify whether this component is loading or not, then you need to use another hook, which is going to be called navigation is equal to use navigation, which is again going to come from the same package. And here you can navigation dot state, which is similar to threshold state. Now if I go fill details here, a@gmail.com. See, now your navigation is returning you the right state, idle, submitting, idle, but fetcher is not. Because right now this action is not bind to this fetcher hook. It is an independent component form. Now, if you want to have a state of this form, you need to use navigation. But in the case of fetcher, this use navigation is not going to give you the right state. That is the main difference between them. If you want to use form, then you should be using use navigation. But if you're using use fetcher, then you can have the state inside the fetcher itself. I always suggest go with fetcher.form. That's what I do because it has all the information about your form submission, form handling, and you don't need to depend on this another hook. It can handle everything for you. Now we can go back and let's remove this section. This random save success2. Now we are getting the data returning from the action as well. That sounds great. Okay, one more example. I have this use fetcher. I'm using with this form. Now I want to create another component inside my app. Like this folder is not created by Remix. This is what I created myself. I just want to create another component here, maybe a success, or let's name it updated data.tss. I want to export a function here which is going to be updated data. It's not going to accept anything. It's going to return me or I would say let's have a bit here. Let's have h1 here. Updated details as follow. Alright, so what I want to do is whenever user submits something in the action should return me some data. Maybe let's change the data here for now. What I want to do is I want to return data rather than success. I want to return like name is going to be details.name plus updated. And same with the other address details.address plus updated. So right now we are focusing on the functionality. We are not focusing on the project. We are going to have a project at the end of this course, so no need to worry. Let's understand the functionality now. What I'm doing, whatever I'm getting from the from data, I'm just returning the data with appending updated to the field name. Let's remove this here. Now what I want to do is I want to access the fetcher data in this component as well. But first, what I can do is I can get the data from this fetcher and pass it to this component somewhere here. Updated data. This is what I can do. Like, or what if I try to access use fetcher here in the child component? On fetcher is equal to use fetcher. And what if I try to have the data data fetcher or data? And if there is data, then only I'm going to bring this div and let's have some information here, maybe h3 name and data dot name. If it is available, right now it is not typed. Yeah, we know. And same for the address. Address. Let's not care about the typing for now. Let's keep it like this. You can do it as well, like you do with the loader type of action coming from the parent route. Now it is typed. Same you can do it here as well. Type of action. All right, cool. Now, what do you think what's gonna happen? Do both the fetcher is going to be active and sync when I submit this form? Let's give it a try. If I do this, no name a@gmail.com, submit. See, right now, I'm not getting any result here because I'm not printing anything for first place. That is why. But the thing is, like, if there is a data in this fetcher, it should be having this UI rendered, right? Even if I print you this here, and this is going to be index fetcher or data. Let's see. Let's save everything close. No namer, gmail.com. Or let's say in the case of index, we are getting the data, but in the child component, we are not. Now, if you want to make all these actions sync, all these use features sync one action, what you have to do is you need to define a key. You can name it anything. My root action. And if I do the same in the child component use fetcher as well, and if I reload this, no namer, new.com, this, submit. Now you see, we have all the fetchers, whether they are nested inside the child component, they are both synced with the same result from action, which is this form. And whenever the form is returning something, whether it's going to be state or data, they are all synced now. So key is one of the important attribute you can use with the action if you want to use fetcher at multiple places in your route or sub child components. You can have this key so that you can easily identify your action in the use fetcher, because there is another hook which is for use fetcher list, which going to give you all the fetchers available in your the Remix application. We are going to understand it in the upcoming videos, not now. But use giving them key is very easy to identify and sync use fetchers together like we are doing it here. Alright, to summarize, we have understood what are the actions, how to use actions using use fetcher or form, and how to use return data from the fetcher, and how to sync multiple use fetchers in your application, or I would say in your component or child components, to use the same fetcher operation rather having different fetcher operations. Compare our current learning with the traditional React way. So if you want to achieve this in traditional React way, you would be having a fetch call in some function. And when the fetch call success, then you would be calling a set state to having a state for data loading and as well as for the errors if you want to manage some errors, right? And the major disadvantage is I would say you cannot access secrets because everything you see is going to run on browser runtime. So you cannot access server. Open network calls, everything going to be visible in the network tab. And like, yes, if you want to achieve authentication, you need to have some extra steps. But in the case of Remix, you have a fetcher, or even you can use form with some extra hooks like use navigation, use action data to get the data from the action using form component. And to check the state, you can have use navigation. But I would suggest let's stick with fetcher. Fetcher is very useful and handy. It submits data, it manages state, it also gets you the data, and it submits everything to action, which is going to be run at server. And when it is running at server, you can have all the advantages over these 3 points here. That is the beauty of Remix. Thank you so much for watching. I will hope you will wait for the next video. Thank you so much. Have a great day.